we are back with a deck that I have been excited to showcase. So this is Lyrilusc. This is pure Lyrilusc. It's going to be a going second build. Specifically going second because I just rather run it that way. There's not much you can do going first, at least not this build. So I feel like going second is just the way to go. Anyways, go ahead and get into the list. You're playing 3 copies of Tortoise Warbler. Basically, if you don't have any monsters, it's a free special from the hand. And when you do that, you can actually add a Lyrilusc that's already in your grave, or you can special summon one from your grave or from your hand, basically, which is a pretty nice. It's a good way to get started with your combos, because basically any 2 Lyrilusc can end on basically 2 exceeds. So you basically want to play three of that at all costs. Next up, 3 Sparrow. Sparrow's pretty dumb. Whenever it's specialed, it can add level 1 Wing Beast from deck to hand, which is pretty good. It can add of course, another Lyrilusc or some of your other monsters that you play, which is insane. And if you make an Xyz with it, that Xyz can't be targeted with card effects. So it's a good one to have if you have it. You can go into it, make a basically unaffected by card effects monster, especially since some of these Xyz actually will be protected from battle damage. So this is insane to basically have a towers be created as long as she's used as material. Next up, we're playing 3 copies of Sapphire Swallow. We're basically playing 3 of all the Lyrilusc just because of how good they are. Sapphire Swallow is insane because it can special from the hand as long as you have 2 level 1 Wing Beast monsters in hand. So if you have her plus another Lyrilusc or another level 1 Wing Beast, she can special summon from the hand her and that monster, which basically means it's a 1 card Xyz. And if you make an Xyz with it, actually, I'm sorry. If it's Xyz, you get if you make an Xyz with it, it can target a Lyrilusc in the grave and attach it, which is really good for getting extra material on some of these, especially since some of the Xyz benefit from having more material. So it's actually really good that we play 3 of her, just in case you need it. Next up, we play 3 Barrel Canary. Barrel Canary is pretty good. If there's a Lyrilusc in their grave, she can special summon that plus herself from the hand. So it's just like a pseudo monster reborn, which is pretty great. And if you make a Xyz with her, the control of it cannot switch as long as it's a wind Xyz. I think that's the only one that no, Sapphire does the same. I think it might all have to be specifically wind Xyz, but that's kind of going to be what you're going into anyway, so that doesn't really come up too much. But Barrel Canary is really good just because it makes it where your control cannot switch, which at first didn't seem like it was important until they brought back Change of Heart, and then now it's a little more important that the control can't switch. So Barrel Canary is kind of insane. Last for the Lyrilusc is of course the last Lyrilusc, and that's Celestine Wagtail. Wagtail's pretty good. If she is special summoned, you get to add a Lyrilusc spell trap. And if it's in the grave and you have a Lyrilusc Xyz, you can actually attach her from the grave to that Xyz, so it's pretty good. This is the only one you probably don't have to play 3 of. I like it at 3, but you could definitely get away with playing 2 of this card, or maybe even 1, honestly, depending on how you want to build it. Celestine Wagtail is insane, but she's not crazy enough. So I feel like she's really good. I play 3 of it just because I like playing pure builds when I make decks. So I tend to have to capitalize on the monsters, of course. A tech that I am playing is 2 copies of Sapphire Swallow. This could easily be bumped up to 3 as long as you have 2 or more monsters with the same level. You can special summon this card from the hand. And even if you don't need it, I say special summon it anyway because you contribute it, and then during your next draw phase, you can draw 2 cards instead of 1. And as Yu-Gi-Oh players, we love to draw cards. This could be pretty good. So I feel like Sapphire Swallow is really great, especially since they can't ash it. You tribute it, and you don't draw a card instantly. That's going to be on your next turn. So even if they do ash this, it doesn't negate it necessarily, and it's still going to let you draw 2 during your draw phase. I think Sapphire Swallow is insane. Definitely get 2 up. You could even play 3 of this, I'd say, but I like it at 2. Next up, playing DD Crow. Main reason we're playing DD Crow is because it just happens to be a level 1 Winged Beast. Only is the effect pretty solid at just disrupting plays sometimes, but the fact that it's a level 1 Winged Beast means you can go into a lot of your combos. You can actually use like Is it Barrel Canary? No, it's I think it's Cobalt Sparrow. Yeah, you can add, you can use it, Cobalt Sparrow to add it. You can use Torcurse Warbler to special summon it. So it's like, DD Crow is insane. It's a good extender. Doesn't come up too often, but it is super nice. Definitely recommend playing 3 of it. Next up, we are playing, this is 3 hand traps. I'm playing Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Not the best one. You probably want to play like Ash Blossom over it, but Ash Blossom's kind of pricey. If you don't have Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre is pretty fun. You can also play like Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, since I don't feel like the extra deck is as packed as it needs to be for like Lyrilusc Tri Brigade, and it's not as defined. There's a lot of flex slots in there, so you can play like Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries and just kind of play meta cards to banish from your opponents if you need to. But I'm playing Ghost Ogre for the sake of ease right now. It's a pretty good hand trap, but this could be any hand trap. You can put like Effect Veilers if you want more level 1s. You can do whatever you want there. Next up, we're playing 3 Alpha the Master Beast. I don't know why it took me a minute to understand how good this card was here. No matter what you do, unless your opponent's playing probably like Sprite, you're gonna have more attack than most of those monsters. I mean, you're gonna have less attack than most of those monsters. This deck basically goes around these little birds that don't have high attacks, but they're just so disruption. They can kind of control the game while also doing damage. And Alpha is basically a free special. In that case, you can use it to bounce cards back to the hand, and if anything, is a 3k body. So I think Alpha is really good as a 3 up here. Doesn't interrupt the deck at all, and since you're aiming to go second, sometimes even if you open like 2 Alpha and you have like a bricky hand, you can just special 1 and then kind of see where you go from there, you know? Pretty good overall. Next up, we're playing 1 Miriam, the True Draco Phoenix. This card's pretty good, basically. You basically just destroy 2 monsters in your hand on the field, as long as one of them has to be wind, of course. And if you do, you get to special summon this card, and if both of them were wind, you can banish 4 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. This is pretty good. And if it's destroyed by battle card effect, you get to add a non-worm monster from the deck. So this essentially means that you destroy 2 of your Lyrilusc, summon this, banish 4. You have 2 Lyrilusc in the grave, which is really good because you have ways to get them out. And also, if this dies, you get to add any card. So you can add a Lyrilusc, for example, from deck to your hand. I feel like this is a really good card. I would say you could play more than 1 of this, but I'm kind of trying it out. So far, I like it at 1, but I could see potential for it to go to 2 or even 3. This card's insane. Definitely, if you have a copy, play it. Next up, we're playing 1 Pankratops. I mean, we'll go in second. Sometimes there's going to be things on the board we need to bait, and Pankratops is really good at doing that. So next up, we're playing 2 copies of Ring Requettal. This card's pretty great if all the monsters you control are Wing Beast, and you control at least 2 with different names. Pay 600, draw 2. It's really good since you're usually going to have a bunch of Lyrilusc on the board. As long as you don't have an Alpha or anything on there as well, you can pay 600 to draw 2. This card is pretty great. Drawing 2 is always good. If worst case is an Ash Magnet or something, you know. We're playing 2 Bird Strike. I'm not seeing a lot of people play Bird Strike, and I don't understand. This is basically Dark Ruler, but for Lyrilusc. So you have to control Lyrilusc, and you negate all face-up monsters your opponent control to the end of the turn. That's pretty good. Basically, you summon a Lyrilusc, you activate this, and then you can go off on your combos for the rest of the turn, and they can't do anything. Since you're aiming to go second with this basically is Dark Ruler, where you can do anything. I guess the only problem is they can respond to it, but if anything, that baits out in the gate. So I think it's fine that if they can respond to it, it's pretty good. I feel like playing 2 of this is great. You can probably play 3, but so far I've been getting okay with just 2. One thing I like about this deck is just the consistency of it. I never have like bad hands necessarily, and I feel like most of the time I can end on 2 Exceeds just off like a bad card string, so I think it's pretty good. Next up, you do have to play 3 Bird Call. This turns a not workable hand into a workable one, and an amazing hand into an even better hand. Bird Call basically lets you take 1 Lyrilusc monster from your deck, and you can either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. And when you do that, you can special summon 1 Lyrilusc with a different name from your hand, which is pretty good. Because if you have one of the ones, if you have like Barrow Canary, which targets in the graveyard to special summon, you can actually, in your hand, you can actually send one to your graveyard and use Barrow Canary to special itself. This does a lot of different plays you can do with Bird Call. Bird Call basically gets you around to one of your Lyrilusc and lets you basically plan out which ones you need. It's a really good card. I think you have to play 3 of it for sure. One Call by, one We're Arfdale. This card's pretty good. I guess the only downside is a 2k damage if you don't normal summon it, because I will say there's been turns where I just don't normal summon at all. And you can take the 2k, but honestly, who cares about life points in this game? What matters is that you win. So I feel like where Arfdale is really good is basically, as long as you control level 1, you add one from deck to hand. So you can search out any level 1, all of them are level 1, so it's pretty good. And the last is, well, it's not last, but the last spell card we play. This is a card I'm debating. I like it, but it's not perfect, and that's Jack in the Hand. Basically, you get to reveal 3 level 3s with different names, and your opponent gets to take one, add to their hand. You get to add one to your hand, and then you shuffle the last one into the deck. This is good, but I'm not sure how much I like it, but it's really good because you can kind of just pick 3 different Lyrilusc you could need, and as long as if your opponent takes one, so as long as you have 2 ones that you need in there, I guess it's pretty good. But I don't hate it, but I don't know. I'm thinking about switching this out for a different card, but so far Jack in the Hand's been working for me. And then last for the traps, we play 1 Phantom Feathers. Basically, the attack of all your opponent's monsters become the attack of Lyrilusc that you control, and their rank and levels become 1. This could be really good on your opponent's turn if they're playing a deck that requires different levels. They're trying to like synchro summon. You can flip this and just make all their levels become 1. So that's pretty good. And if it's in the grave, it can kind of do the same thing, where your monster's attack become the opponent's monster's attack, and then you can kind of crash with it. But if you have like, I think it's a Symbol Nightingale, they won't be destroyed by battle. So Phantom Feathers is good, but I wouldn't play more than 1 in the main at least. Another option, I guess, for the main deck is you could play the Barrier Statue. Like I said, I don't really have to normal summon too often, so it's a possibility. But for the extra deck, it's not really too shut in. We have 1 Resolute Starling. This card's at 1 for a reason. It's kind of insane. Basically, whenever you make it, you can detach a material to add level 1 Wing Beast from your deck to hand. And since you sent the Lyrilusc to the graveyard, if you add the one that lets you special summon from the grave, it starts off your whole combos. It goes into a second exceeds pretty easily. Resolute Starling's really good. Next, I play 1 Promenade Thrush. This card's fine. It's basically getting rid of spell traps by shuffling them into the deck. And if another monster you control battles, you can detach a number of materials, and it gains 300 for each detach. So you can make it, you can buff up other monsters, which is really good. One thing I forgot to mention was this gets 500 for each material attached to it, and this gets 300 attack and defense for each material, which is why I said the material sometimes does matter, especially for these monsters. 1 Ensemble Blue. Ensemble Blue is fine. You can detach 1 target special summon monster that your opponent has and return it to the hand, which is pretty funny. So if they special summon a monster, detach, target, return to the hand. And if it's if it's sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can target a Lyrilusc in your monster and add it to hand, which is pretty great. So you can help recycle Lyrilusc on some blue. You could play this at 2, but I think it's fine at 1. I am playing 2 Assembled Nightingale. Nightingale's pretty great. It gets 200 for each material, and it can attack directly. And while it has material, it can attack a number of times each battle phase, up to the number of material. Basically, if you can stack a bunch of material on here, it can attack a lot of times and deal a decent amount of damage, because it gets 200 for each material anyway. And in quick effect, you can detach, and until the end of this turn, Lyrilusc monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects or battle, and they take no battle damage. Basically, if you can make her into a tower, she can win you games pretty easily. We play 1 Downard and 1 Zeus. This is an Xyz deck, and with cards like Assembled Nightingale that can attack directly, you're gonna get attacks in, and you just do Downard to get extra material on Zeus. For the rest of it, this is where I got to the point where after that you don't really need too much more. But I'm playing like Kinigashi Fuko. It's just kind of in here because it's a rank 1 you can make. That's a Wing Beast. I'm playing like 1 Owl Mirage, which probably doesn't come up. Link Karibo is probably one that's important because sometimes it can come up. I'm playing 1 Relinquish Anima. If your opponent messes up on zones, you just kind of take their monster. It's nothing. You lose nothing. I'm playing 1 Geonator Transverser. This is not something that's important, but it does come up every once in a while. Play 1 Wind, the Wind Charmer. If you're fighting like, I don't know, Sword Soul or something, you can take a Wind from their grave, but more importantly, it's easy to make. I'm playing 1 Ferrojeet, just because it can add a Wing Beast monster during the main phase. You can special summon from the hand, so it's pretty good. And you can draw 1 card when it's sent to the graveyard, so it's not too bad. And then 1 Unicorn, just because you always play Unicorn. Unicorn's just kind of insane. That's what I have so far for this one. Like I said, this deck's really consistent. It's a lot of fun to play, and like, it's one of those things that people just don't expect, because sometimes they don't read the cards and they don't realize how much damage they end up taking. Because Resolute Starling, one thing I forgot to mention was all battle damage taken from battles involving this card is also inflicted to your opponent. So if they try to like go in for, like, let's say they have, I don't know, a Drakeite, just because I play Adamant Spiriters, right? They attack with Drakeite for this for 3k. If you have that plus Nightingale, you can use Nightingale's effect to discard, so you take no battle damage, and then they take the 3k from Resolute Starling, which is pretty good. So you can do damage without them noticing, and if they basically you catch them off guard, and then they can OTK themselves, which is pretty interesting with this deck. But like I said, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cards in here that I really like. Like I said, I got a chance to show off like Slower Swallow, which is pretty good. I like the fact that Alpha's basically like the boss monster here. It's always fun, a good chance to use this card, because I feel like the True Dracos just kind of don't get to be played. So overall, I think it's a fun deck. Definitely, if you have the cards, I'd say build it. It's a lot of fun to play. You can even build this on Master Duel. It's a lot of fun on there too. If you have any more suggestions for other decks you'd like to see, I think the next deck profile that will come out will be Exo Sister, because I have everything I want for it. I'm just missing a couple of cards from, of course, Power the Elements. And after Exo Sister, it might actually be Sprite. I was thinking about it for a long time. I think Sprite's the way to go on that one. So I'm excited for Power the Elements. I can't wait to do an opening for that one. Hopefully stay tuned if you're a fan of openings, and enjoy the rest of your day.